G'day, Stu from UAV Futures here, and today I am shouting at the camera with so much enthusiasm. I am super pumped, super hyped, so excited because what we've got here, this is from Underground FPV, the Dark Knight Nirvana radio. Now, I have been dying to get this thing. I've had so many Patreon supporters on the Discord. Stuart, can you tell me more? Tell me more. What's going on? And I'm happy to share with you guys today my first impressions on this radio. This is going to be a little bit different because this is such a special product in our community. It's been designed by people who love drones, have done a lot of work in the past, which we'll talk about, but I want to do this thing justice, so I'm going to be doing a big full review once I've used it more. I don't want to just jump out here, test it for a couple of hours and then say, yes, here it is, or, I want to give you guys the right information. So I'm going to take it up. I want to fly it a lot. I want to give it to a lot of other pilots. I want to get their impressions. What's it like? Because it is not every day we get something this special. So what this video is, this is just going to be on some first impressions. So I'm going to put the link down below. I think it's still on pre-order. There's a lot of things to mention about here. I think there might even be some things I'm not allowed to mention yet for some really, really cool features coming. But yeah, this is a pre-release version, so some things in the firmware might change. They've got some really, really cool stuff coming. So what we're going to do, we're going to stick this on the bench, and as a bit of an overview before we kick it off, what it is designed to be the next radio for us drone pilots out there. The shape, it's absolutely ridiculous. Some far out thinking. You might be thinking, gee, that thing looks insane. And yes, you would be correct. For pinchers, for thumbers. And look, I've been playing with this thing for a little while, and I'm so excited. We've got to stick it on the bench and get started because you guys are going to flip when you see just how cool this radio is. FrSky, you're about to freak out when you see how cool this Nirvana radio is. All right, let's do it. Alrighty, here it is on the bench for the impressions of the FrSky Nirvana Dark Knight radio from Underground FPV. What a mouthful. And also, what a crazy looking drone radio. I mean, let's flash some pictures on the screen. Ain't nobody seen a radio that looks like this. It looks incredible. And when you open the box, you are met with some very, very cool stuff. Normally, I don't show you what's in every bit of the box, but you get this nice little decal. And then also, look, companies take note. If you're going to send some stickers, take note of what Underground FPVs do. Finally, they're sending some stickers that actually look cool. I would put this on my kit, like some of these ones. I would actually put that on my gear rather than some of the other useless ones you see out there that are just plain text logos. So I really like those stickers as well. But let's go through some of the things you do get. You get a charging cable, which is very important. No longer do you need a separate battery thing. We're going to be comparing this a fair bit to the X-Lite as well, because to charge this bad boy, all you got to do is plug it in by USB, bada boom, bada bing. You're ready to rock and roll, you're charging. You get your little trainer port as well if you want to hook it up, and I believe there's even some cooler features coming, and I'm going to share as much info as I can, because I think there are still some things under wraps that I can't talk about just yet, but let me tell you, there are some crazy cool features coming. Now, what we should also do, you get some of these extras. Let's get these out of the way. So you get this pretty cool cover which clips on over the top. So that goes on like this, that part goes over the back, and then this, you can just throw that in your bag. All your front switches are protected, and then if you're gonna clip one of these switches, very, very unlikely for something to get in there and break when it's actually inside your backpack. So I really, really like that idea as well. I love that on the original Turnigy Evolution. That was such a nice little touch. And I'm also gonna say, speaking of the Turnigy Evolution, anybody who followed my channel, has been following it for a while, knows that I flew that thing, I would say, more than any other larger drone pilot on YouTube. Most people, they are just Taranis fanboys, and they think that that's what the best is all the time. Myself, I want to fly the best radio at the time, and I flew my X9D, then I was on the Evolution for a year, then I went back to the QX7. I want to fly the best of the best, and I don't really have an allegiance to one company or another. And let me tell you, I think that puts me in a good position to, rather than someone who is just so used to the FrSky ecosystem, to let you know how this radio really goes. Now, before we move on, I do want to go through the shape and talk about this, because this is probably one of my favorite things about that radio. I like the X-Lite, how it fitted in your hands, and let me tell you, I didn't believe I'd be saying this, but this, the Nirvana, it fits even better. No matter your hand size or your flying style, this thing is going to work for you, because the X-Lite, let's face it, it was really made for people who fly with their thumbs, and I love the portability of the X-Lite. The small shape, small form factor, that thing was great. One thing I didn't like, and you'll notice I said this in my reviews quite a bit, was I didn't like how small the gimbals were or the gimbal adjustments. So for me, it always felt, I would have liked them to be a little bit stiffer, a little bit bigger. That's where it felt a little bit weird for me. This, on the other hand, feels incredible in my hand, and it's got some rock solid Hall sensor gimbals in here. Really, really high quality, and I should say as well, check this out. This is what I love. Whether you want to hold it, I guess if you've got some smaller hands and you just want to put one finger on the back, because these little parts are genius. It's all chrome, those parts. Whether you just want to put one finger on there, it fits quite nicely. You've got your thumbs up there, or whether you want to put your index finger, and then there's another little sort of ridge just here, like this. So I don't know what you call these fingers. And then you're going to have your hand up a little bit higher. It's still very, very comfortable. So if you've got larger hands or smaller hands, you can find a different holding position depending on how you like to fly. Or if you like to pinch, you can still, there is so many ways that you can hold this radio. So overall, look at this. It just feels great no matter which way you're going to hold this in your hands or the shape of your hand. So 10 out of 10 for me in terms of the feel of the radio, the quality of the plastics, all those sorts of things, and also the ergonomics in your hand. I'm going to say this is the best feeling radio for me and my thumbs, especially with the size of these gimbals. I am a huge fan that they went with some proper gimbals. Now what we should do, let's go through some of the features. So of course you've got your Hall effect gimbals here. One thing you are going to absolutely love, which was a bit weird on the X-Lite as well. This one, it's got the proper 18650 batteries. You do need to get your own batteries, but it takes 18650s, so not those smaller 18500s, which is a really, really odd choice. I don't know why they went with that in the X-Lite. And then listen to this when you turn it on. Come on. I did have to flash mine too. It has so many cool sounds in there, so hopefully you guys heard that as well. Now you might be looking at this part. Look how weird this is. You've got two on and off switches, and the reason that is so you don't accidentally turn your radio off or accidentally turn it on. You can hold one down all day, but if you hold both of them, boom, that's when you're ready to rock and roll as well. Oh, you're going to have to listen to it again. And look, this is probably a good time to point out as well, it's saying throttle warning, even though my throttle is down. Oh, did you notice that? Touchscreen, color, very, very amazing. But the firmware in here is coming in thick and fast, and I think this is one of the first units that they've ever sent out, and it's going to get a lot of updates. There has been about 3 updates in the last 2 days, so they are coming through. They're putting so many cool features in here. We'll talk about those features inside in the actual firmware as well in a little bit. So of course you've got your nice gimbals, nice huge color screen, and it is so easy to set up your quad, set up your radio. You know, so here's all your radio different part. You can scroll through. That's the actual radio setup. When it comes to setting up your drones and your models, all that sort of stuff, your timers, this makes it so easy to set up your radio and your drone. I really like that part because it can be a little bit confusing, and to make it even better, what I do want to say is they are going to be simplifying this, I believe, and look, I hope I can talk about this. I'm sorry if I can't, Underground. I believe there might be some extra firmware in the works that is made just for drone pilots. It makes it super easy to set up, where if you don't like programming, you don't like the whole OpenTX ecosystem because you want to take all the power of it, but you want it simplified down because you're not flying helis, you're not flying planes. That's what they're working on, so I can't wait to see that. Of course, this is just a very, very early demo prototype version, you know, but very nice big colored screen. Things like checking all your sticks work, all that sort of stuff. It's nice and bright. You can adjust so much stuff on here. Now you've got a whole heap of switches on this thing, switches galore. Everything is customizable, so if you don't like these switches, you can actually take them out. They look incredible in that chrome color. To start with, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, but I'm sure you'll agree. This is one far out looking insane, a very, very cool radio. I'd expect nothing else. I love it. I think it's the best looking radio as well. So you've got some 2 pots up the top. Here's your trims, something that is very nice as well for you pinchers out there or people like it. A big heavy duty neck strap that is bolted right around, and there's also a bit of a secret button under one of these. So you take these screws out, that's where you take it out, you put your SD card in there, and also there's like a little extra button for flashing and stuff you put in there. So you're not going to accidentally be bumping that button when you're plugging it in. Now if we flip it over, here's some other crazy parts as well. You'll notice we've got some extra switches on the back. So you've got 2 momentary switches, also 2 arm switches, and I think this is absolutely critical because if you're a thumber like me, you're probably going to be using these switches at the back. But if you're someone who likes to fly with their as a pincher, you might be using these switches up here. You might be doing something a little bit different, so you've also got some switches on the top. I love the fact that they've included them, and they're also not hard soldered in, so you can take them out if you don't want to. Now let's keep the features coming. You guys gushing because look, you can tell how excited I am about this radio. You've got your antenna here, so if you're doing some close range flying, maybe some indoor stuff, you don't need to flick it up. That's all you need to do to put it up. And I should also say there's another antenna inside here, so it just runs, I think it's across the back on this side. When I had it might be across the back, but they are perpendicular to each other, and that lets you get some really, really cool range, some good reception. And another thing that I like as well, And this is another feature that is coming, but I feel like I'm letting some secrets out of the bag. But imagine you've got this big bright screen, your drone goes down, and look, this is what I've heard is coming, and it's in the works, but it's not in this version. You don't know where your drone is, so as long as it's plugged in and it's getting some ping back from the receiver, you can twist it, and it is going to calculate between the two differences of that. It's going to put an arrow on your screen that's going to sort of track you to your drone. How cool is that? So you can actually use this as a little map locator that's going to help you find your drone. That's why hasn't that been done before? That's great. I want these features. You can tell this is made by people who fly mini quads. Now look, I'm just going to power this down, and then I want to show you another really, really cool feature. Some people out there might be thinking, gee, that's great, but I use Crossfire. Well, where does the module go? And other people might be thinking, Stuart, I don't care about a module. Those extra parts are just a little bit too big. Check this out. So I love this as well. If you do use a module, all you have to do, screw these in. So bear with me, it comes with some screws. I'm just going to screw this in, and then we'll cut back to show you what it looks like in 3, 2, 1, boop! Radio. So then you can see now we've got our module base. So this is where you're going to clip in your Crossfire or any other modules that you want to use. So I'm a huge fan of that. Give us those options. If you want a module bay, yeah, there's little bits of plastic, let you do that. If you don't want them, unscrew it, you don't have to use it. So I think that's amazing as well. And then on the top, there's so many features on here, I'm kind of getting lost on what to talk about, but we've got our little USB charging port, our trainer ports right here as well. So if you need to hook that up, do some trainer stuff. And there's some extra hardware built in here that's another little secret that I can't talk about. Some extra things I know are coming as well. There is so much cool stuff in this radio. Now let's talk about the receivers, what we've got. So this is their long range receiver. And both of these are iBus, because that's the protocol that this one uses. There's its little micro receiver, and one of the reasons that I switched away from the Evolution was because I wasn't getting the range. When I was traditionally flying these around some of the racetracks, it was dropping out more than I noticed on FrSky. So that's why I went back to the Taranis, but I believe that was because of the Turnigy side of things, and these little receivers, they're meant to have fixed a lot of that. So that is something that I do need to test. I can't talk about the range, and for me, that's going to be the only thing that's going to hold this up. I want to put this through its paces, do its testing, really show you guys how is this thing going to go, because if this can get some amazing range as well, I think this is going to be the best radio on the market. The only thing that I'm slightly worried about, or that could let it down, is if these don't live up to, I guess, if they don't compare as well to FrSky, or if I'm getting some fail-safers. That is it. Everything else in here I absolutely love. Now, one of the other things that used to really, really bug me with some of the older receivers or some of the third-party ones, trying to hook iBus up to your little flight controller was very, very annoying. But these ones, this is how they work. Well, this is how it worked in my testing with this one anyway. Just very, very brief testing is when you hook it up, it will bind, and whether it's on an S, but whether it's inverted or not inverted, the receiver and the radio is smart enough to know. So if it's getting some stuff back, it sort of talks two ways. It can know, well, just switch the inversion or don't switch it. So it's very, very easy to hook this up. Any open UART, these receivers will work with. That's kind of it on the benches, I guess, our first impressions, which is exactly what this video is. I can't wait to test it more, show Grumpy Trev, Crash Test Cal, maybe find out some other race pilots when it's bound up, all that sort of stuff. I should stress though, this is an early version. This is going to be the hardware that you get, but there is also going to be so many firmware updates coming when this thing finally releases. It's going to have so much stuff in there. They're compiling the codes pretty much daily, so definitely stay tuned. I can't wait to bring you guys more action on the FlySky Nirvana, but my first impressions on the bench and in my hands, it feels incredible. The features that are coming are amazing, and so far, so good. We just really need to test out some of these ranges on the new iBus, because on these new little receivers, because if that comes true, then I am all over this. Of course, I should also stick it on the scales. That's probably one thing that I should do for people, because it does feel a little bit heavier than the X-Lite, if that worries you. It's coming in at, let's put it this way, hopefully you guys can see that, it's 715 grams. So something that is really nice when you're holding this. I thought the extra weight would bug me a little bit, but it doesn't feel like a cheap toy. It really feels like it's got some weight to it. It feels amazing in your hand. If you get a chance to see one of these, and I'm not sure when they're going to be coming out, because pre-orders have only just sort of gone up, you just put it in your hands and have a feel, because that sounds so wrong, but yeah, it's something special. You can tell how excited I am. Alrighty, so there it is, and I've got to keep myself in check here because I am so excited. You can tell that through the whole video. I don't know how many times. Put a little poll up here. Put it in the comments. How many times did I say so excited? I've got to keep myself in check because I love pretty much everything about this radio, about what it tells us to do. And let's say too, no radio is perfect. I've flown an awful lot and each on their merits, but what this does for me, It feels like a drone racer's radio finally made for the community with so many options, so much clever design with things we want, and also just listening, like put some proper batteries in here, make it so we can charge, have full-size gimbals, make it so it can adjust to no matter which size your hand is, what sort of flying style you have, put a module in there, don't use a module if you don't want to. The list, it goes on, and I think a big one for me is versus the X-Lite. The X-Lite wins in terms of portability, and if you want a really, really light, small radio, that thing is so easy to throw in your backpack, and we also know that the FrSky range just works. This, on the other hand, it is bigger, it has better gimbals, because I didn't like the gimbals so much on the X-Lite, but this one, the bigger, better gimbals, but I do need to check out that range, because if we can get the range on this and it's rock solid as well, because Turnigy's not doing it, because FlySky, they're going to be pushing the iBus a little bit further. That's what I want to see. That's what I can't wait to see. And if that all comes true, well, expect some big things from this. I bet you that, there's going to be videos coming out from JB, NDRC, Rotor Riot, so many people out there. This is going to cause such a splash in the community. So I think you're going to be seeing this at some flying fields near you if those receivers live up to, from what I'm hearing in the reports anyway. So that's probably the one thing that I want to check out a little bit more, and that's why this video is going to take a little bit longer. We're going to jump back to this. I want to use it for a while. I want to tell you viewers that, that's why we're doing an impression now. I want to let you guys know, how did this thing perform? What was it like? What did other pilots think about it? What was the range when you did some tests? And that's the info that I want to give you. So this, just for a one-off, because this is such a special video, special product coming to our hobby, I want to do an impressions video, give you the rundown on the features and what it's like, and explain some things that are going to be coming. And there's some extra cool stuff in here I wish I could tell you, but I've sort of been sworn to secrecy about some of the things that's going to come in. But yeah, overall, I'm rambling, I'm excited. I can't wait to fly it around more, put it through its paces, do some testing, because this looks like a radio that I would be happy to rock every single day. Anyway, I'm rambling. This was an impressions video. What do you guys think? Put your comments down below. Subscribe for more FPV related content. And as always, happy flying. Also too, if you're a Patreon supporter, stay tuned, because near the end of the month, I might have an extra radio maybe for you. Anyway, happy flying. God, it feels good. Please let those receivers be good, because that's all I know. Once that's done, I am absolutely sold. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAV Futures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.